Well, here is an interesting crocodile story. These are true tales of my African adventures. May this inspire you, deter you, caution you, and above all, entertain you. I've had a number of events surrounding crocodiles. As you know, man-eating crocodiles. We had a man-eating crocodile. We've kept a large number, and in fact, we started crocodile farming. Not something I pursued for very much longer, because crocodile farming essentially was to assist in conservation of crocodiles. I bought into that concept. So what one does is one breeds crocodiles, and you raise the young up to a particular size where they can be killed. The meat is used and highly prized, and then the skin goes into the bag trade, handbags, shoes, leather trade, etc. And what happens is, if there are enough captive bred crocodile skins going into the leather trade, the poachers get put out of business. They don't go out and capture, shoot, trap and kill wild crocodiles. And that concept is what I bought into. And in fact, what you do then is you release a percentage of your crocodiles back into the wild, something like 2%, which is what normally survives in the wild. And then those which would normally be taken out in the food chain, those are what you raise in ideal conditions, and they become your money spinning products, leather and meat, and of course little artifacts. People buy the claws and all that sort of stuff. However, when it came time to cull the first batch of crocodiles, I realized I was not going to kill one of them. I just could not. It's not a softness of being so much as it is an understanding that killing massive animals just didn't suit my nature. However, there was a lot that went into this crocodile farming episode. First of all, we had to build a raising facility, which was to be in Cape Town, near to where the products would be sold. And we had to procure the crocodiles and raise them, because buying sexually mature crocodiles for breeding in the crocodile farm was a very expensive exercise. So we bought sort of half-grown, not quite sexually mature, needed 2 or 3 years to finish off their maturity. And then we would move them up to the crocodile farm for the breeding of the crocodiles. And this was right up in the northern Transvaal, near the Kruger National Park, sort of northeast, and it was near the Olifant River. Olifant means elephant. It's an Afrikaans name for an elephant. So the Olifants River, a well-known river which runs way up there in the north and runs through the Kruger National Park. So it's a wild river, and it's well populated with hippo, crocodiles, and of course elephants traverse the river in the park and so on. And it has its name from an elephant. So there we are. When the crocodiles had reached breeding age, I had to transport them in a truck and trailer. There were quite a number of them, all the way up to this farm, which was very close to the Olifants River. And it was a heck of a journey, because we could not go at speed, and we had many incidents on the way, which weren't great, because people, especially at certain times of the year, the tribal folk up there, when they drive, especially when there's a very famous religious period where they all go to this, en masse to this popular church event. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people go there. If you're a slow-moving vehicle and you happen to move off the road on that particular evening when they're on their way, nobody lets you back on the road, let me tell you. That was not pleasant. Anyway, it took us 2 full days of traveling to do the roughly 2,000 kilometers. from the Cape where we raised the crocs all the way to the farm. It was a heck of a thing, and we had to do it in one go because the crocs were initially drugged. The drugs had to be topped up, and too much drugging and you kill your animals. Anyway, we got there and we did lose one crocodile. One crocodile died, the rest were fine. We got them out, they recovered well, and the farming was able to start on the farm. The whole process was now beginning. What was interesting is a spectacle I witnessed on the Olifants River, which I have never seen. I'll probably not see it again, but it was a startling, astounding scene which I wish people could see. It's just amazing. What had happened is we liked to go down onto the banks of the the Olifants River. Might as well call it the Crocodile River, although there is a Crocodile River there as well. And we would look for reptiles and see if we can spot crocodiles and watch the hippo, and the bird life was great. So we'd go down. And when we went down on one particular day, a hippo had died and was lying in some fairly shallow water in the middle of the Olifants River. Now, the water there was probably a meter or less than a meter deep, and the whole width of the river there was very shallow. And so there was this dead hippo, which looked like it had been dead for a few days and was starting to give off a wonderful stench. And, hippos and other creatures, when they lie in water in that blazing hot sun, can really work up a good stink. The water was flowing down towards the east, and we were watching downstream. We spoke to one of the locals there, and he said the crocodiles are starting to come now to feed on the carcass, and tonight there will be many. So we thought, hey, guess what? We're going back with torches, powerful torches. We thought we'd go back and watch the feast on this hippo. So we thought we might see 5 or 10 or 15 crocodiles feeding on the carcass, and in our spotlights we could be treated to this spectacle. So that night, rigged up in boots and all the rest of it, and careful not to go too close to the water's edge, because the crocodiles are not interested only in dead hippos, if you know what I mean. We went down fairly close to the water's edge, walked along until we could get to the place where we could see the hippo carcass. We turned on our very powerful spotlights and shone them down, picked up the hippo carcass. It was now just become dark. Picked up the hippo carcass, and suddenly it was as if there was a city behind the hippo, a city of lights. An unbelievable city of lights, all the same size and in pairs. And it wasn't just 20 pairs of lights or 15 pairs of lights. It was hundreds of pairs of lights. And these were the crocodile's eyes reflecting in the light of our powerful spotlights. Hundreds and hundreds. I cannot tell you how many there were. It was a spectacle of note. They were in the shallow water, slowly now moving up towards the carcass to begin their feeding. And the stench of the carcass in the water had now moved down with the river, and there were barbel, catfish, thrashing around near the carcass too, trying to find an entry point through the flesh. And by the way, catfish are the staple for crocodiles. And there were the crocodiles now marching slowly in the shallow water, and when the spotlights rested on their eyes, they held their ground and just stared at us. And I cannot tell how many there were, but it was a spectacle, as I say, like a city with its lights having just been turned on. An absolutely amazing spectacle. Unfortunately, we had to leave the following day, so we never got to be treated to this spectacle again and see them tearing the carcass apart. But also, it was very wild where we were, and it wasn't a good idea to stay late into the night, because often lion would cross in those areas to the Olifants River from the adjacent areas, and there were lots of leopard, and there were all sorts of other things there. And we, in our youth, thought it would be prudent rather to leave the crocodiles that night to their feast and move back to the farm. Hey, by the way, I do have Patreon, so you can join me there too.